What's never gonna be the same after this pandemic? Work. Many office jobs will be done remotely. Businesses will see that they no longer need giant buildings and parking structures to support work that basically amounts to a few emails in some Excel or Word docs. Doubt. I was interviewing as I had been laid off. I started my new job this week. Software development. So ripe for WFH. My last job was completely work from home. Anyways. All of the places I interviewed had their employees working from home during the pandemic. But the hiring managers were overeager to get everyone back in the office. The people in charge have a real hard time with not seeing you working. Even if they are seeing your results. Calling in sick will become calling in via Google Hangouts IO. It can't be. Or at least no changes from pre-pandemic. If you're on PTO or sick leave, you're off. That said, I've worked important events, outages, planned major projects, etc. While severely sick. As I'm sure many of us have. Remote work will be more mainstream. So needing to live close to work will no longer be as desirable. Causing inflated home prices in major tech metro areas to deflate. Home delivery services like Amazon and Instacart will mean less time spent shopping. Malls which were already on the decline will start closing down completely. Business travel will decline as virtual meetings become normal. Housing with home offices, video production studios and high-speed internet will be important selling features. America's reputation. Making jokes at America's expense has just been low-hanging fruit since the Bush days. As a Canadian, America's reputation is pretty much unchanged. As most of us knew that once COVID was going to become a big deal. The death toll was going to be astounding south of the border. And X200B. I'm sorry. : less than sign. I am reconsidering going to other countries for anything in the future. Yeah. It was one thing when we inexplicably became cruel and unfriendly to our allies. But we could have fixed that by reversing everything when Biden got elected and claiming we were duped by a con man. But this pandemic is squarely on us. The lack of leadership is appalling. But we shouldn't need government mandates to wear F-king masks and respect our fellow Americans. This pandemic has revealed how awful we actually are to the world, and hundreds of thousands of us are going to die because we just can't handle inconveniencing ourselves to save another's life. Casually enjoying a nice bat soup. Or pangolin steak tartare. Buffets. Before the pandemic I could go to an upscale buffet and tell myself everybody else was being hygienic. I love buffet. But I will never eat at a buffet again in my life. RIP old country buffet. We have been going to an Indian restaurant for years and during the day they had a buffet. We have been ordering carry-out since COVID. About 6 weeks ago, our state started to allow people to eat in the restaurants again. I struck up a conversation with the owner. He asked me if I would come back if they reopened the buffet. I kindly told him no. To my surprise, he said that he would not eat at one either and that they were only going to do carry out for the near future because the kitchen staff was all over 60 years of age. He said he was shocked when people asked if they were going to reopen the buffet anytime soon. I personally cannot imagine touching a spoon touched by 50 other people and then eating a meal. Nope. Not going to do it anytime soon. For me, I feel like even if there's a vaccine and the virus is wiped out, the world will still be at a loss. There will always be that feeling or memory of the time when the world shut down and irreplicable people died. This is the big one. I still can't wrap my head around the fact that everything's closed. No social life. No gatherings. No events. Just nothing. I feel like it's gonna take me a long time to stop feeling some anxiety about another lockdown around the corner. This experience sucks for extroverts. Hopefully the view of the work week. 4-day weeks are overdue and having the permanent option to work from home 1 or 2 days should be a thing. Not gonna happen soon though. It kills me that we only get 2 measly days of downtime out of 7. My sleep schedule. Can confirm. It's 4:30 AM and I haven't slept. Not 100% sure, but graduations. My sister had a reduced and socially distanced ceremony, and after your child's name was called, you were allowed to leave. Do you honestly think that when the restrictions get lifted, people are going to want to sit through all 200 plus names? Hahaha, my graduation was 800 people. 200 would have been short and easy. JCPenney's is legit about to go under. There's a lot of brick and mortar stores that could disappear by this time next year. Sears, Bed Bath & Beyond, Macy's, Best Buy. Malls are going to empty of most of their anchor retailers. Physical contact as a form of greeting one another. I think we'll value the time spent in person with family and friends a whole lot more. I haven't seen my parents or siblings or nieces or nephews since Christmas, and likely won't until, if, this whole thing mercifully ends. I daydream all the time about what it will be like to see them all again. I surely won't be squandering that time distracted by scrolling through social media on my stupid phone. Coming from a person who has been trapped with siblings for months because my parents both are essential workers. Trust me, I'm going to appreciate the time we have together later, but I will appreciate being able to be away from them even more. My social life. Well, it wasn't that epic to begin with. TBH. Nothing. We'll forget. Plagues. Spanish flu. Smallpox. Polio all happened. I doubt the people who lived through them forgot. Did you forget the Great Recession? I know I haven't. My grandparents never forgot World War II. My dad never forgot Vietnam. My mom never forgot Quaaludes. This will forever change how people interact with strangers. There is an after this pandemic. If we had all stayed home and taken it seriously, this virus would be essentially eradicated now. Instead, we'll probably have it forever now. Even with vaccines. The anti-vaxxers will keep it going. Blowing out birthday candles. Because you can't have a birthday when you're dead. My mental health. Sending hugs to you. DM me if you wanna talk. Emphasis on healthcare in politics. Especially in third world countries. Even just focus on other countries' healthcare in general. Like, no offense, but currently the USA is a risk to the rest of the world. That's not a third world country. School. Yep. We teach in overcrowded germ factories. And a lot of experienced teachers are retiring this year if they can, rather than dealing with this shit. And something like 50% of teachers leave the field entirely within the first 5 years. The overall demographic of teachers is going to shift this year, I think. Nightclubs. I don't ever see myself wanting to be around that many people in an enclosed space. Same with concerts. I love concerts and festivals. I honestly don't know that I will ever go to another one. My anxiety through all this has helped in now being so turned off at the thought of going to a concert. Trust. I trust my husband and our son. I no longer trust anyone on my side of the family. His side, every last one of them cares more about health than my family. His side, masks and Zoom. My side, begging us to travel. 0 masks. And constantly criticizing my worries. People flying for business. I'm a farce, so air travel is so different this year. Flight attendant? What is the job outlook for them after the pandemic is over due to decreased flight? My social life. I don't have one now, and I don't think that's going to bode well for me when I have to go outside. We're going to have to learn how to be social all over again. At this rate, my inbox will never be the same. Not sure how widespread this is, but the local universities, US, are starting fall semester earlier, August. Then, when students leave for Thanksgiving break, they do not return until spring semester starts in Jan. They don't want students to interact with so many people from all over during the long Thanksgiving weekend. Then, return to spread anything. Plus, those who have to travel far don't have to return for the short time frame between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Seems like a long-term beneficial shift for all. That should be considered permanent. Similar to the year-round schooling. The big chunk of summer break is slimmed down. My relationship with my friends. It's all fk'd up now. Same, it's sad. It's actually more like what relationship for me now. Tiger sanctuaries. Whoa. Wow. Was Tiger King mania during this pandemic too? Spin the bottle. Instead of kissing, we're just going to make finger guns at each other. Grocery shopping without a gas mask. Not if you're American. We actively discourage wearing one here. Buffets. I f***ing love them. All of them shut down in my city. My fatness. Blowing on candles on birthday cake. Kissing on cheeks as greetings. Touching railings and boundaries in public comfortably. Eating street food. Eating without washing hands. People sharing their food. Close ones of people who lost their lives due to corona or economy issues. The world. I think physical contact will never be the same. People will keep their distance to one another. But some change I really hope will happen is that when someone is ill, they will wear a mask to protect the people around them, especially elders. School, one of my teachers died and he had a big impact on how I see the world. So going back is gonna be hard. Hate to be this guy. But families of those who have died will never be the same. I predict the population of cities will change. Everyone says working from home will be big. Missing the point that with more people WFH. Less need to live so close to the central business district. With less people buying from physical stores and more buying online with shipping to their door. Why would you need to live in a big city with lots of shops? Cities will get smaller and regional towns get bigger. Movie theaters will be a thing of the past with new movies released to streaming platforms. I don't want these to go because I really enjoyed the atmosphere and experience of going to a theater. Eagerly awaiting the day I can go back. Watching movies at home is just not the same experience for me. The frequency at which I wash my hands. I didn't do it nearly often enough. My look on the economy. I hope the economy picks back up at some point. I know it recovered a bunch since the late March fall. I bumped my 401k contribution to 12% when the crash happened. Which is the most I feel I can comfortably contribute. I will probably keep it there as well if when this whole thing settles. One good thing I hope comes from this is a common practice of masks during flu season. I've come to realize that unless I'm eating, drinking, exercising outside, I have absolutely no issue having a mask on. Nothing. Everything will go back to normal eventually. In my country. It more or less has. Other than having to wear a mask in certain situations and being a bit more diligent with hand washing. I can't say any other of its effects have been lasting. The economy will probably be the last to recover. But in time, it will. I think children are going to be scarred for life if this keeps on too long. I wouldn't call it PTSD. But I'm sure parents are making their children wash and sanitize excessively and likely even scaring them, which is going to get permanently planted in their head. I can see there being a surge in OCD related mental illnesses in 10-20 years. I also wouldn't be surprised if this whole pandemic was what caused an antibiotic resistant superbacteria showing up in about 10-20 years either. It's been talked about and feared for decades. But I think we are finally going to see it in our lifetimes. We are likely over sanitizing and viruses are going to evolve to cope with all this ramped up cleaning. Hugs. Handshake. Literally any sort of affection. It's kinda depressing not being able to hug your friends. Everybody needs a good hug, you know. Some industries which were already on their way out will kick the bucket. Don't expect movie theaters or physical retail to ever make a real comeback. As a buffet lover, buffets will be gone if they aren't already. Could still have the employees serve you, but it's not the same. Tourism. Hopefully, the 5 days in the office work week. Now the office is home. So 7-day work weeks at the office. Always. Not enough people are talking about this, but how we educate our children is drastically changing. I predict public school enrollment to shrink as the free market targets the needs of families who are putting their health first and not unsubstantial number of millions. Parents just aren't comfortable with letting their children go back to the germ factories. Also, teachers abandoning the profession in droves due to their needs and demands being ignored is bound to happen in the next few months. I'm hoping this enormous issue will reassess the entire institution of public K-12 schooling and the utter lack of broadband access in rural or poor communities. Nothing. Just look at the pandemic back in 1910s. We went back to normal after that, then COVID hits. Some things will change for a while, but I feel we'll go back to our usual ways when the pandemic is over. Things might change at first, not sure how long the changes will last, but everything will revert back to pre-COVID days. Indoor concerts. I can't imagine that I will stand in a crowd of 75,000 people at Madison Square Garden anytime soon. Attitudes towards work. You can't just jump into rhetoric about essential workers and suddenly providing financial aid to the temporarily unemployed and not expect that to cause a seismic shift in the way people view work and society. Neoliberalism has had its day, and we, in Western countries, will start experimenting with socialist ideas we have shunned for half a century. Shaking hands. People are going to come out of this as complete germophobes. Weed culture. Rolling. Passing. Sharing any kind of apparatus. All different now. My tolerance to ignorant customers. I'm calling it now. Next year's flu season will be a divide between mass panic, people who took COVID-19 seriously, versus you're worrying over nothing, people who would rather endanger their entire city instead of wearing a mask and staying home. Before the pandemic, flu season was just please get your flu shot and take precautions if you're elderly immunocompromised. But I never got my flu shot. I doubt I'll ever be that relaxed about a virus again. Public school and university. Our homeschooling co-op enrollment is up 700% and I see a lot of articles going, why am I paying $50,000 for a degree from MIT when it's online only? Apostrophe. Corona beer sales. But then you can't make the witty drink order. I'll have a Corona. Hold the virus. Double quote. Deleted. With any hope. Requirements for running for president. Hopefully. Commuting. I hope businesses that have been forced to keep going with telecommuting keeps most of their telecommuters working at home. The main reason that businesses don't like doing telecommuters as standard is trust. Either they don't believe that you will actually do your job, or they have been burned before and don't want to get burned again. The way I look at some people who were close to me. I've seen the real side of some people I know, and that includes friends, relatives and acquaintances. The ignorance, apathy and in some cases just straight hatred I've seen in the pandemic and subsequent things that happened during masks, healthcare, BLM, has just drained me. Restaurants. Don't worry about that. People are taking it on themselves to treat them the same as before, despite being told otherwise. Turns out the virus acts differently when someone has a drink in them, so there's no need to be cautious. Also applies to the staff in the restaurant. They're naturally immune. Meeting my friends because rarely I go to their house. Healthcare, because even after the pandemic the virus is staying, so doctors will need to treat some infected people. I would like to see more appreciation for vaccines and modern science medicine in general. And secretly look forward to seeing anti-vaxxers waiting in line to get the vaccine once it's developed. And for some time at least. We will be more weary of contact with others. I'm from country where everyone kisses hello and goodbye. Hugs etc. Outsourcing even more. Work from home is great, beneficial and healthy for a lot of people. Unfortunately this means Rajesh can do your job for much less.